That's not funny.
Well, we try to be funny
This is going to be a good one tonight. This is going to be a really, really good one tonight because I am frustrated.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the Sports Porch. This is the Sports Porch Pittsburgh, where you can catch us on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I didn't know they had Codcasts.
Yeah, they do on Apple.
I love the Codcast.
Apple Podcasts.
It's great.
The best.
We're everywhere you get your friggin' podcasts, or as always at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com.
That's right.
Go.
That's right. And we are on social media right now, all over Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. Thank you for being here. And we do drop the podcast after every show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And as I always say on the Buckos Report, if you want a little warm sports hug, you can go to theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com. And I think we already said it 3 times.
And also you can catch the Codcasts on the Fishing Network.
We're on the Fishing Network now. Wow, we're really expanding.
This is crazy. So listen, subscribe to the podcast after we drop it after the show tonight. And please, guys, we're looking for reviews. So we would really appreciate, and we love everybody that comes out every week to watch the show. We're having such a good time with this.
We love it.
And just leave us a review. That'd be great. Right, Schwaber?
Leave us a review. I mean, share us your feelings.
Let us know how you really feel.
Yep. So
we let you know how we really feel.
I'm going to let you know how I feel right now because, as you can see, holy hell, the Pirates are frustrating.
Holy hell.
It's a free fall.
Listen, I want to thank everybody who listens to the Buckos Report after every single Pirates game.
Bless you.
Your Buckos Report after every Pirates game on the podcast.
They need some butt drugs.
It is. We got to bring that. We got to bring that commercial in.
It's a great commercial.
We actually do that. Can you email that to me, Schwaber? Or send it to me, like during the show while you're sleeping.
I would rather concentrate on the Sports Porch.
I just can't. I am so.
It's the dead zone.
Look,
I mean, it's free fall,
and it shouldn't be. It's baseball season, and the Pirates got off to a 20-9 start, and they've been 15-34 since, or 15-33 or whatever, which is kind of how we thought they'd start anyway. But as it says on the ticker below, if you're watching, holy hell, are they frustrating. And I'm going to go into something here right now, and this is dangerous, but it's a good thing they don't let me in the locker room to talk to anybody there, because I blame this. Like we can go all around, and Bobby Trumpet Jr. is in the house. He drops a comment in the chat. He's a Penguins fan, and I enjoy your podcast. Thank you, Bobby.
Oh, wait till hockey season.
Oh, yeah,
Bobby Trumpet Jr. just sounds like a right fielder.
He does, or he does.
Catcher that plays right
maybe
field.
A catcher. Yeah,
no, that would be
Davis. Yeah, his name's
Mitch,
Davis.
Right?
Mitch Henry. Whatever. Doesn't Hank.
Hank. Right.
Look, I'm late. Look, the organization itself has its issues. We have our issues with the owner, and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? My big issue this year is with the manager. Okay. And I always feel guilty, and I'm actually kind of scared. Like if he sees me on the street, he'll punch me in the face or something. Which
there are a lot of people who want to punch him in the face.
I
think
know.
It's doubtful that you'll get punched in the face.
Yeah.
By the Pirates manager.
If you do, make sure you get video.
I also think it's doubtful he'll recognize you from this show.
Yeah, you're probably it's doubtful he'll recognize me at all. Yeah. So
you look different in real life.
Yeah. Yes. And Bobby played second base. So so
second baseman on hand.
I just, let's go over the positives. Okay.
No, let's talk about the manager. I like where you were going.
Of which there are none. That's where I was going. I cannot for the life of me figure out what the hell is going on with the way this team is being managed. DG's in the house as always. Thank you, DG, for being here. It is. Look, these games are brutal to watch, and I don't want to meddle. Okay, they're just brutal to watch.
Nails on a chalkboard.
It really is. Okay, because and there we go. There's the okay. See.
Okay.
I know. I love it. That last week's show. I'm going to digress now. Last week's show. Okay.
You picked up on
God
it.
damn it.
You picked up on it.
What, you counted the number of OKs in the show?
I didn't count them, but what I realized after I listened to it, I take a little drive in the car and listen to our podcasts. What I realized is like the entire podcast, I'd be talking blah, 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 blah. And there'd be this random Schwab. Okay.
Right after you said okay.
I know. And after a while, I was like, and then I realized that like every time Mark said okay, he looked at Steve. And I was like, these guys, they're like conspiring against me. So DG said, he sums it up. Shelton is just not good. He picks the lineup like he's pulling bingo numbers. Beautiful. Absolutely. No apparent rhyme or reason. I'd
like to get in on this Shelty bashing.
Go for it. You take it away, Steve.
So I don't watch the games, but I listen to some of the games, and I certainly listen to the Buckos report.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And what I've learned was this: the Pirates can't hit the ball right now, right? And they interviewed Shelton at the end of the game, and they said, "What do you think you can do to help the hitting?" And he said, "I have no idea." Quote unquote, I have no idea what to do. And I'm thinking to myself, how does a Major League Baseball manager, first of all, say that? And second of all, say that when he has 3 players that start that are batting in the 100s.
Right. And
like, it's a simple thing. You say, well, I have to coach the ones that aren't hitting well. Like, for example, Sawinski can hit the shit out of a fastball, right?
Right.
But he can hit a curveball. So all he had to say was, I got to teach Sawinski how to hit a curveball. And I have to take our catcher out because he's terrible. And we have a number 1 pick to put in his place.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like, if he would have just did that, maybe he would have had some confidence in the players that are out there who want to try and play.
Right.
And he just, when he says stuff like, I have no idea what to do, people are going to follow that and they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't have any idea how to hit this ball either. So I guess we're in the same boat.
And I want to,
can I have an extension, please?
Could you address Karen?
Yeah, I want to address Karen's comment here. For those of you listening, Karen has commented on Facebook. I've been donating for a long time. Please stay a Pirates Forever fan. True fan, stay. Been a fan for over 60 years. God bless you. If you continue to bash them, I will stop donating. Well, here's the thing, Karen. We don't want to bash them. I want them to win desperately. I remember when I first moved to Pittsburgh 30 years ago, it was on the heels of the Bonds, Draybeck, Bonilla, Leland years, and they were still good. And it was great. You know, in the 70s when they beat my beloved Orioles at the time, they were a great team to watch. The Buckos of 10 years ago with Kutch and Russell Martin and you know, almost reaching it and making the playoffs. Man, this city comes alive when the team is good. And that's what we're doing. What we're talking about is, and no, CD, I did not say Sid Bream, because Steve goes into convulsions when I say that.
I go catatonic.
You do, yeah, catatonic, yeah, the opposite. So, Karen, we love the Pirates. We want them to win. And this year, when it started off and it looked like, oh, wow, you know, this is going to be a different team this year. They're going to play well.
I wasn't really that.
No, you weren't. But I mean, it got our hopes up. And now what's happening is we're watching a franchise seem to slip back into its usual ways. And it's just frustrating. So please, I'm so grateful that you're here and you watch us and you participate. And thank you for that. But it's not about bashing the Pirates. It's more about, you know, questioning what is happening in that locker room. And right now, to Steve's point, when you look at the lineup every single night, and Mark and I talked about this before the show for a long time. Okay, you've got a bevy of young and talented players. Okay, and I'm not going to be able to ever say okay again and not be self-conscious, but they played the way they did in the beginning of the season. And then, which was above where they should have played, obviously, but then they start to slide. and then you watch what this manager is doing, I can't figure out whether or not, honestly, I'm going to say it. I can't figure out whether he knows he's a manager or not.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you just by the things that he said. And, Karen, we're just trying to give you honest analysis of what we see. And sometimes it is a little harsh. It is true. We are a little harsh here on the porch, but it's just what's happening. Like if Shelty would have come out and said some things that made sense, we would have been like, okay, the guy's got a handle of what's going to happen. Look, what happened was they had the perfect storm. They took advantage of that pitch count before people knew what to do with it, right?
Right.
They actually, Shelton, if he was the guy, had a really good idea for what to do. Steal some bases, get on, just get runs, right?
Yeah, and you were talking the pitch clock, not the pitch count. Right?
Sorry, pitch clock, the 20-second clock. And they played great. But they played against teams that weren't very good. So now what's happening is they're playing against better talent, and people have figured out what to do with the clock and how to get around that. And now they've kind of got 30, 40 games on these new players. And they're like, oh, well, we just pitch Zawinski curveballs and we pitch around Kutch and everything's good. Then we can beat this team. Now the manager needs to manage.
Right.
Now he really needs to get out there and change up what he's doing. And when he says things like, I don't really know what to do, that's not what a manager should be doing. A real Major League Baseball manager goes and just gets it done.
Yeah.
And that's my frustration with the Pirates this year, because I thought they would be where they are right now.
Yeah, you're not surprised.
So
right.
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised by the way they started, and I'm frustrated, like yourself,
right?
That they've fallen so hard in the last 2 months, but it's kind of predictable.
Well, and there's some obvious things I think that have been going on that seems to me a more seasoned or a more high level thinking manager would notice. First of all, for quite a while, he was pulling our starters, no matter how they were pitching, after basically he was trying to get them to 5 innings. And if they got in a little bit of trouble at the end of the 4th, they were yanked. If they got into a little bit of trouble with 1 out in the 5th, they were yanked. And that being said, there were a lot of starts they were on their way to possibly being quality starts, and the guy would give up a walk and a hit and they'd yank him. And our bullpen, which was incredible, fell apart. Yeah. And that's going to happen. That was the part where I was like, that's obviously not the manager's fault. Injuries happen. And so you have to retool the bullpen. So what do? Is you get your starters who have been pitching well, and you trust them to go into the 6th inning. You want your starter to hit the 6th inning. And unless he's getting shelled, you let them work through adversity. Okay. If I know. And if that damn it. And if that happens, then they gain confidence in the way they're pitching, and it teaches them how to pitch in stressful situations. But instead he's pulling them. Another thing is the lineup is different every single night. And look, when you are a leadoff hitter, no matter what position you're batting in the lineup, okay, if it's your position in the lineup, if you are the everyday leadoff hitter, if you are the everyday 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, you know what your responsibilities are, and you know what pitches to look for. And after a while, every team has to pretty much game plan to pitch the same way to you. Mm-hmm. So you're creating a situation in which opposing teams, you can anticipate a lot of their game plan.
Yeah. And
when you have young hitters like Zawinski, like Bay, like Palacios, like Marcano, even Henry Davis early in his career, even Nick Gonzalez, who I don't think has a hit yet, when they don't know day to day what spot they're going to be in the lineup, they have no idea how to prepare. Yeah. Because you can look at tape of the other pitcher, but you're watching him. He's pitching this guy's batting 3rd. There's a guy on 1st. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to game plan to hit this guy. I don't know what to expect.
I'll disagree with you a little bit.
Okay, please do.
I do think, obviously, it does make sense to have some sort of a rhythm to your lineup. However, I also think it's hard to construct a lineup when you don't really have talent to fill out all aspects of the lineup.
This is true.
You know, like there really is no 3-hitter on this team.
Right. You're trying to create a number 3 hitter, right?
You know, so I think that's hard. And then the other part to it that I would say is, you know, with the exception of somebody like McCutchen, you know, everybody on this team is not just competing as a member of the Pirates, but they're competing really for their careers, right?
Yes.
And at some point, you know, it's just gonna not matter where you're hitting. You just gotta hit to be able to become an everyday ball player in the major leagues. You know, I mean, the reality is, I mean, yeah, would it be easier on the player knowing that they're going to hit second every day? I do agree. Yes. However, at the same time, you know, I'm sure many players, you know, until it's determined that, you know, maybe they are actually a number 3 hitter, you know, they start out hitting 7th and then they hit 6th, and, you know, then maybe they try them in the leadoff spot, you know, and, you know, but eventually if you keep hitting, you know, you find that spot. And maybe what Shelton is struggling with is he doesn't really have a good spot for a number of the hitters. Now, granted, I think you make a good point. Like, you know, on this team, I don't see any reason for Sawinski to hit anywhere but 4th or 5th, you know, and I don't see any reason for Ji-Hwan Bae not to lead off, right? I do agree with that. But at the same time, you know, we gotta, you know, guys gotta make it happen no matter where they're put in the lineup, because the reality is, you know, you want to become an everyday ball player, you got to hit, and they're just not hitting.
And DG says Mark's theory does not allow for his crazy swings when it comes to creating his lineups. He's all over the place. I've never seen this extreme with any manager. I think that what you're saying, Mark, is actually 100% true. There is obviously onus on the player to, you know, hit the ball. And I think that or to find his stroke. Okay. And God, I hate that word now.
Stroke. Well,
no,
you know what?
I kind of like that word.
Here's another.
Is it frustrating for your stroke?
Here's another thought. Am I breaking into you here too much? Here?
No, go for it.
Here's another thought. You know, something that I heard mentioned on the radio by our local folks here, and I kind of agree with it, is, you know, another thing to look at also is just the approach to hitting. It seems like what they're doing is they're sort of teaching guys to take pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is, because the pitchers on the opposing teams realize that they're taking pitches, they're getting ahead in the count. And so, you know, once you're behind in the count, it's really hard to get a hit. And then also, you know, there's going to be players in this league. Look, I mean, yeah, we all want a good at bat, but there are also players in this league that are great at jumping on a first pitch fastball down the middle.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and if they don't feel like they've got the ability to do that, or if that's going to sort of get under the hitting coach or the manager's skin, if they do that, then we're really kind of, you know, we got to look at the approach to hitting too.
Yeah. And I think that all goes back to what's happening behind the scenes here. What are they working on?
I know what they're working on.
What is that?
The new club where you can get the new shirts at the PNC Park.
Right.
Did you see the vice of the president of baseball
hockey
operations?
Well, you want to go to hockey right now.
Actually, I think some of these guys weren't actually in baseball. They came from other places, and some of them actually came from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
But I think that's more important, that we sell more of these where they
City
Connect jerseys at the new ballpark, at the new the new swag shop. I think everybody needs to go down there and get their new jerseys.
Well, I did make a comment.
That's what they're focused on right now.
I did make a comment that, like, what do you do when the team is in free fall and you got a homestand coming up, you bring up Henry Davis.
And you go get a new jersey.
And you fill the stands. That's right.
Limited time only. Hurry up. Get down there now.
Yes. DG says, when losing 12 of the last 14 or so, reality dictates that some criticism is appropriate. Even Jim Leland has criticized, which is rare, and that's what I wanted to get to. Leland comes out and says there's no reason to have a catcher who's batting 170 in the bottom of that lineup. Now, look, you're not going to put your best hitter in the number 9 spot. Okay, but you've got another catcher in Jason DeLay who's played a little over a year in the major leagues now, or close to it, and he's batting better. And you bring up your number 1 pick, who is a catcher. And
has he caught yet?
No, he's played right field, and I believe he's DH'd. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. I know. Why are they not putting him behind the plate? That's a question I would have for Shelton. I do want to put it out there that on Instagram, I took a risk and I invited Derek Shelton to come on this show. I have not heard back yet.
Well,
And I'm not expecting to, but I think it would be really interesting. And listen, if he comes on, I promise we'll be nice. We just have questions and we want to hear what he has to say.
we're going to have to get down to the new stadium
I can also
and
say,
check him out.
I can also
the new stadium.
Yeah, the new stadium with the swag shop.
Oh,
Have you heard about
it? I can also say to
If you haven't been down to the new PNC Park,
yeah,
no longer PNC Park, or is it still PNC Park?
It's still PNC Park.
It
What
doesn't
the hell
have.
is he talking? What the hell are you talking
It
about?
doesn't have a name though. Like the naming rights are up for PNC Park, and they never got a new name. That's what I was asking.
Oh, so
about.
PNC isn't paying for the name?
Well, I think they're getting it for free.
Or they paid for it and nobody else has picked it up.
Yeah.
So we're not going to.
Maybe they're in their 21st option year.
I think they should go the way the Orioles went. It's just Orioles Park at Camden Yards. There are no naming rights. You can be the official. PNC happens to be the official bank of the Baltimore Orioles, and there's PNC all over the ballpark. Huge. And I found out over the weekend that they happen to be the official bank of the Miami Marlins as well, because it's all over that
Carolina
stadium.
Hurricanes.
Right. That's all a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, so yeah, that's interesting. They should just go. It should just be. I think they should name it Barry Bonds Stadium.
Oh, now you're really calling controversy.
DG says
free shots on the way in.
Steroid Stadium.
Steroid Park.
Steroid Park. At Shelty Pavilion.
He didn't take the steroids when he was here, though. So.
No, of course not.
Nobody did
that should
steroids
be
in
the
Pittsburgh.
Giants.
In Pittsburgh history, nobody's ever done steroids.
Now, here's what DG says. Another thing. The shame is that DG is just as frustrated as I am and a lot of other people. The shame is Davis gets pulled for defensive reasons late in the game. No kidding. He's not a right fielder. And that's exactly right. I mean, they're trying to teach the guy how to – literally, they're talking about teaching him how to play right field. Why?
Yeah, why? You drafted him as a catcher.
Yeah.
He's caught games before.
Yeah.
You have a terrible catcher right now.
Yeah. He's terrible as far as hitting goes. He's not a bad catcher defensively. He's not great.
Yeah.
But when you see him, he looks like he's got a really great personality. I mean, I'm not knocking Austin Hedges. I'm just saying his bat is not good.
I heard him tell some really good jokes at parties.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we should get him on the show.
Yeah. Let's bring Austin. Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't think he's got a lot of stuff lined up, so we might be able to get him.
Probably not. Probably not. So what are your thoughts about the Pirates? Are you as frustrated as we are about the same things we are? I mean, they just gave Shelton an extension. What does that mean? Look, in this day and age, extensions mean nothing.
They gave it to them when they were like 20-8.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, we still don't know how long the extension was and how much it was. So it could have been like for another year.
Right.
Well, and you can fire a guy at any time, so that none of that really matters that much.
Nutting's not going to give away free money.
No,
he's going to keep him for as long as he has.
He's going to make him earn it. He's going to make him earn it.
Gio.
Yeah, but I lost most of your comments. I'd like to hear back from you. Yeah. No, I'm not sure this is an actual.
Yeah, I don't think that's a that's a football or
Yeah,
baseball
I don't think it's
or
a
a
sports
sports
or
comment.
I welcomed her with open arms.
Somebody's looking for a
But you
friend.
would.
Hey, we do make friends here on the show.
We
though.
do occasionally,
do.
Mhm.
once in a
Yeah.
while.
Every once
Yep.
in a while,
Yeah.
we get a new friend in.
Yep.
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 And then they disappoint us by not showing up next
Yep.
week. But that's okay.
So I am I am not surprised that the Pirates are struggling. I am surprised, however, that they're struggling this bad. The statistic I brought up the other night, that actually last night on the Buckos report, I'm gonna bring it up here again. Schwaber sent it over to me. It was great. That Sawinski, Hedges, Castro, and Bay are now a combined 1 for their last 92. That was actually probably before last night.
Right.
Yeah, before last night.
So they're a little worse now.
one for
Because
over 100.
they all
Yeah.
played.
Yeah. Well, to me, look, these guys are major league ready players. Doesn't matter what organization they were in. Okay. They've played baseball their whole lives. They definitely are major league ready from the standpoint of they're on a major league roster. For that many players to be having a slump that poorly tells me that there is not any sort of real attempt at coaching on the back end. There's no plan. It's not that they're not being coached. It's that there's kind of disarray. Like, we've got so many guys that are struggling so much. What is our approach as a team? And that's the point. There doesn't seem to be an overall organizational approach to the way this ball club is managed on a day-to-day basis on the field. It's like every night is a brand new game. It's like watching Little League. You know what I mean? Like when my dad would be like, hey, Joe, you play left field tonight. You've always wanted to play left field. And, or somebody would say, hey, coach, can I bat fourth tonight? Oh, sure. Santana, you can bat fourth tonight. No problem. Like, that's what it feels like. And I'm committed to doing the Buckos report, and I want to see them turn it around. But first of all, a wild card at this point in the season, in my opinion, is completely out of the question. 100%. And prove me wrong, Pirates. Prove me wrong. The only way that the Pirates make the playoffs, and I think this is baked in anyway, is if they win the division, because I do not see a wild card coming out of this division. I see the Cubs as having an outside shot at winning the division, and the Brewers sometimes seem to be able to hold on at the end of the season.
Right now, the Reds look incredible,
and I'm not sold on the Reds yet, but if they go past the All-Star break and they're still 3 or 4 games in first place, then definitely you got to start worrying about the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all their young talent is coming up, playing where they're supposed to be playing,
Right.
and performing well.
Right.
They have some really unbelievably great hitters on that team.
They do.
That are young too.
Yeah, and they probably bat in the same spot in the lineup pretty much every night.
And they're real 3 and 4 hitters.
Yes. Right.
That's
Okay.
what the Pirates need to do. They need to kind of just stick with the script.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to create a new script here.
They just don't have a script. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They don't have the script. Okay, I'm going to remind everybody that you can get your Buckos report after every Pirates game on the podcast on iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your friggin' podcasts. And you can always catch us on theporcheslive.com. And CD says, now to quote Jim Mora, playoffs, you're talking playoffs. Playoffs ain't happening. I'm with you, CD. Right now, there is just no way. There is just no way.
But we were talking playoffs at the end of April.
We actually, and look, I was talking playoffs, and you guys were telling me it was too early.
Yeah, well,
And-
we were talking about their ability
right.
to get to the wild card.
Yeah.
And we said, I believe Mark was taking the lead on this. Let's just wait till July and see what's happening.
Yeah, well, we didn't even have to wait that long.
Correct.
We did.
Correct.
We did. You're right about that.
Okay, so let's move on and let's talk. First of all, let's talk Steelers.
Let's talk Kenny Pickett's wedding.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been a lot of
Happy wedding to Kenny.
Happy wedding in New Jersey.
Congratulations.
Do you think he went over the new part of that 95 bridge to get there?
Do you know who is
I don't know.
1-0 at weddings while the rest of the division is 0 for 1?
Kenny Pickett, the
Kenny
Pittsburgh
Pickett.
Steelers.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's like 0 for 25.
I mean,
You didn't put it together yet.
No.
I am putting it together.
25 assault charges.
Yeah, I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not close to being married.
Oh, well, I didn't.
Or maybe he is. I don't even know.
Well, it may
He could be. I thought maybe you were thinking he was married 25 times and been divorced 25
That's kind of
times.
where I was going. I was like,
Which
yeah.
seems like a lot for a young guy.
Not really.
No, you think you could, by the time you're 25, be married and divorced 25 times?
There's
the
a lot
way,
of things I did 25 times by the time I was 25.
What did you do it while you were
Hey.
frustrated?
Yes.
By the way, I was in Cleveland.
This is going downhill.
I was in Cleveland last weekend.
Why?
Well, my wife had
Rap concert?
my wife had some medical issues, and so we were going up to
You're
see
good.
some
Oh,
good physicians up there.
Wait. There are no good physicians in Pittsburgh. You had to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, it's Cleveland's where they're at.
Well, the Cleveland Clinic is world class.
By the
I'll
way,
give
have you
that.
ever ate at a place called Pier W? out in
Never.
Cleveland.
Is it near the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
It is.
I've eaten there
It's
with my
not-
daughter. I
Well,
think.
it's not. No,
It's not on the pier there.
No,
There are lots of
well,
piers in Cleveland.
It's one of the best restaurants in the city, and it was
Oh.
unbelievable.
I'm not going to waste that on my daughter.
Right,
Smart.
good parent.
I'm, kidding.
But anyway, the point that I bring
I'm
up
glad
is,
she's not watching.
as we went to this restaurant for dinner, we drove right by the Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Yeah, I've been there. Not inside.
What a disgrace to
Really?
drive by a stadium and to see gigantic banners of Deshaun Watson,
Mm.
scum of the earth, then Myles Garrett, scum of the earth.
Yeah.
And you just keep going by, scum after scum
Well,
of the
Nick
earth.
Chubb's a pretty good guy.
Well, it is the mistake by the lake.
It's just a new mistake.
But
by
it's,
the
could
way.
you imagine, man, if that was your team? My God, that's what you're bringing your kids to. Yeah, let's
You know
look
what?
up to this
In
guy.
Cleveland, it's like the best thing they've had to root for since Brian Sipe. So
Who was Brian Sipe?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like these people don't even remember who Brian Sipe was.
Who was Brian Sipe?
He was a quarterback.
Was he?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When?
Was he before Kozar?
Before Kozar.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. That's why.
Yeah.
In the glory days. Before they moved to Baltimore.
The glory days.
The glory days are basically Jim Brown.
The glory
That's it.
the glory days of Ernest Biner, who then won a Super Bowl with the Redskins.
No,
Yes.
Ernest Biner made the world's greatest mistake.
He did.
Yeah, he did. Fumbled the ball on the goal line.
He was in the end zone and
Yep.
he said, "No, I think I'll fumble."
Yeah,
it."
I'd rather win it with Joe Gibbs. He fumbles it. Right.
But anyway, I
Yeah.
digress.
Oh,
Let's
so
get back
why are we
to your
talking about-
Steelers?
Why are we talking about Kenny Pickett's wedding?
Well,
and
because
Deshaun
He
Watson's
got
assault?
married.
You know,
He's settling down.
He got
I know.
married. He got settled down. We ended up in Deshaun Watsonville, aka Cleveland,
Yeah.
and here we are.
But wasn't there? I saw something online, and we all know that everything you see online is absolutely true. That there was some sort of scuttlebutt about how he kind of gave the Steelers kind of an icy look or something at the wedding, or
Oh, the Steelers. Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that was because there was a huge
Ice sculpture.
ice sculpture. It said Steelers, and it had the hypercycloids. The one thing I have against the ice sculpture was everything was yellow in it. Like
Oh.
if you're gonna spend the money, get the yellow, get the blue, get the red. Come on.
Well,
He's got the money.
I think-
Clearly, he's spending on pyro, and he went
right.
when
I
they
think
came in,
it's-
and then the ice, the dry ice floor, so you couldn't see if they were walking or actually gliding across the floor. I mean, he had the money to do it, and he didn't. He went on
Yeah.
the cheap for the.
I think
for
he's
the
going to
ice.
regret that whole thing. But
I
go ahead.
think you abide by the old age proverb of don't eat yellow snow, and
That's kinda
Exactly.
what I was thinking.
Exactly.
there should be no yellow ice.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
maybe.
I'm wondering if that guy wasn't completely loaded and like, I need some more ice. Yeah.
Well, it was over by the oysters. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
I don't know.
Well, good for Kenneth. Good for Kenneth. For
Kenny
tying
Pickett
the knot.
finally scores big. Do you think he threw more than one touchdown pass in his honeymoon?
I think
I think he did. I think he did, and that's a good start.
Yeah, I think this could be the sign of a good season.
Listen,
for
I
Kenny.
think Kenny Pickett broke lots of scoring records at Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not what his wife thinks.
Huge scoring record.
I'm pretty sure his wife doesn't think that.
I'm not talking about
she was
his
at
wife.
Princeton at the time.
I don't.
Like
And
I
he was
said.
at Pitt.
Yeah, I don't think that his wife talked to Rochelle and Nancy and Ramona.
And what? Ramona.
Everybody knows Ramona.
Yeah. Everybody knows Ramona. Did she used to hang
David-
out at the O?
David says
Well,
we are warped.
no.
Yeah.
The O's been gone for too long now.
He already knows that. DG
David,
already
you
knows
know,
we're
we're warped.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations to Kenny Pickett. And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
your Steelers
absolutely.
news for
Yeah.
today.
In all honesty, you know, like, listen, man, gives you something to play for now. You're starting a family. You know,
We
win
hope he's starting a family.
win us.
We don't know if he
I
scored
hope he doesn't
officially.
start the way he started his season.
I love this comment. I love this from Brad. Do you think he wore his gloves on his honeymoon?
Well, he does have small hands.
Yeah,
he does have
actually,
small-
as far as I know,
I
once
think the answer to that is yes, Brad.
I disagree, because once you're married, don't the gloves come off?
Mhm.
No, for the woman, the gloves come off.
I'm saying
Speaking
with
from
the-
experience.
I'm saying,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm saying with the small hands.
And then
they're-
come the two beds.
I got to tell you guys a story, but go ahead. I'm going to tell you guys a story.
I'm saying with the small hands, there might not have been a lot to see.
Yeah, right. Good Lord.
She probably wanted the big hand look with the gloves.
I'm not.
thinking.
I'm not.
Like
I'm-
you take off the gloves and then the hands look small.
yeah.
And leave the gloves on.
You know what
Kenny.
they say about big hands. You're right. So, okay. So you guys,
Brad's on to something. She probably did have them in her purse.
yeah. And
She
what?
definitely owns the gloves now. That's 100% sure about that one, Brad.
All right, guys, it is getting a little late into the game here,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
we've got a couple other things to get to, and I think
Schwab
we,
taking
I think
control.
we want,
Well, I mean, I
we
think-
want to talk hockey before the draft.
Well,
Yeah,
we
maybe.
definitely want to do that, but we're sure that we got all the Steeler news out.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett wedding. That's it.
Yeah, but I also want to get this in by Brad, because this year we're not going to let this guy down. Okay, he's going to be in the weekend of October 29th, the Jacksonville game. Brad, we will see you that weekend. At
Jacksonville.
least
Yeah,
one of
let's
us.
do it. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
We will meet you
Wait,
down there.
What weekend is that?
It says the
Doesn't
weekend of
matter.
October 29th.
Oh, well,
It's the weekend of October. What do you mean? What week? It's Halloween weekend. How about that?
Halloween weekend.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
what
Halloween's
if, what if your neighborhood is trick or treating on that?
Well,
night?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what if? No, I don't trick or treat anymore.
Do you see any kids around here? I mean, nobody else can see what's
I could
going
go
on
trick or
there.
treating with some scouts.
Yeah,
you still got to be there for
This
the
is
kids in the neighborhood.
ridiculous. There are no kids in my neighborhood.
That's true. You live in a ghetto.
That's
No, he's the
Now
house.
you're getting
He's the
bad
house
house.
on the hill. You can't
I
get
am
to
the
it.
house on the hill. That is right. So Brad, listen, we bagged out on him last year. That some stuff happened. I don't remember what it was. He was in town for the Jets game.
The Jets game. I know.
Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't meet up.
I think we knew
Brad,
that the Steelers
we're making
were
a
gonna lose.
commitment to you.
Yes,
this
we
year.
have to.
We will absolutely, at least
We will
at
meet
a
you.
minimum, meet.
Yes, we will meet. That's right.
I mean, Scott's going to be in town too, so he's
Yeah.
going to have tickets. He'll be down there.
Yeah.
so.
Well, we don't want to get Scott.
No.
anywhere near
But
this
what
guy.
I'm saying, it gives us a reason to go down.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah.
On top of Brad being around.
Scott's going to be here. Okay, let's see if we get any other. We need to get DG here. Actually,
You're right.
I've been down to Palm Beach a few times, and I could have reached out to DG, and we got busy, and I didn't. So I owe him too. So we'll
Well,
do
you're
that.
just a big disappointment, aren't you?
Wow.
I am.
No
I
wonder
am.
why we won't have any fans.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you something real quick here. You guys are gonna really appreciate. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
other week.
Okay.
the other week before the show, we were talking about marital relations
Oh, yes.
and sleeping arrangements.
Mm, yes.
And I have to admit, I mea culpa here. I made fun of you guys.
Mhm.
Okay.
Here
I
it
made fun of
comes.
you guys.
Get ready.
And within 2 days, I was sleeping on the couch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there you go,
Yep.
baby.
Yep.
I don't know why you sleep in the couch. You got plenty of other beds. Just grab a
There's
bed.
a TV.
Make it yours.
There's a TV. And it's because I snore. I snore too much.
Mhm.
That's the reason for everybody, buddy.
Yeah, that's
gotcha.
that's what she told you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly what I thought. That's just what you're telling me.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I was like, you want to know what? Karma's a bitch. You know,
We try to tell you. You know,
I know it's crazy.
One of these days you will listen to
that
us.
first night. That first night, I was sleeping on the couch and I was just sitting there like fuming. But I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at you guys.
That makes sense. There's a lot of sense in that.
And I was like, oh, I gotta admit it to him. Although I've been allowed back lately.
And
All right,
no wives will ever agree that they snore too.
No, of course not.
Right.
Of course not. I love it. I love it.
Did
Okay.
somebody want to talk about the Calder Cup?
I think CD said something about the Calder Cup.
CD wanted to talk about the Calder Cup.
Hockey
not
Jesus, update us on this Hershey Bears.
I'm not sure why anybody would want to talk about the Calder Cup.
But first, I want to remind you that after every Penguins game, especially when Penguin season is in full swing, the Hockey Jesus preaches on the podcast, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And throughout the playoffs, he does Hockey Jesus updates, and even throughout the off season, you will get that. So subscribe to the Sports Porch podcast. Leave him a review. Leave us a review. Hockey Jesus, what do you have for us this week?
Well, this week, I think maybe we should throw up David's comment about Dubas. Let's talk about Dubas first.
All right.
So can Dubas?
I'll throw the comments.
What could Dubas really do this week? Not much, really, David. But here's the thing that he did signal, and I'm sure you've seen this if you're following the Pens at all. Dubas kind of opened his mouth about buying out contracts. I'm a big fan of getting rid of Granlund, just buying out his contract, and pretty much Dubas said we're not going to buy out his contract because they did that in Toronto, and it really hurt their ability to sign players down the road. And I get it, just kind of take your medicine now. Next 2 years. And the reality is they're probably going to need some bottom six guys to play. So we saw a small sampling of what Granlund can do, and it was absolutely horrible. I mean, it was atrocious. So I say we'll give him the first 20 games, and then if he's no good, you just cut him. Maybe somebody will pick him up then. So I'm okay with that. The other thing too is, he's been very silent about Jeff Carter, which clearly means that Carter's coming back. So that means they're not going to be looking for a third line center, which is good and bad because once again, Carter's old, maybe he just needed some time off. There's no playoff games last year. They got an extra month in there of rest and relaxation. Hopefully that will help. That situation. As far as the buyouts, so he's not really going to do any buyouts. He did hire this, I don't know who this person is, Vuki Mufo, director of hockey operations.
I love his name.
Mofo.
Yeah,
he's a mofo.
Yeah, Vuki Mofo.
He is a mofo.
Actually, he is from LA, and I love the LA operation.
Lots of mofos in LA.
I think he was like manager of underneath the hockey of operations president.
He was manager of director of hockey operations president.
No, he was the manager underneath the president.
Did he wear gloves?
He absolutely did wear gloves.
He was the assistant director of hockey operations.
Anyways, what does that mean that the director of hockey operations will do? He'll just basically listen. He'll be a sounding board for Dubas. Really, he brings in these guys just to kind of sit around the table like this and just say, "What do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy?" Yeah, and I'm sure Sullivan's going to be part of that group. The one thing I do like about Dubas is he's come out and already said what he's going to do. There's no secrecy about it. I really like that about him. So we don't have to speculate about whether Granlund's going to do this or do that. He's going to keep Granlund. The only thing that he didn't really say was whether or not he was going to keep the first pick or trade the first pick. I get the sense that he's going to keep the first pick. And there's actually the prospect that they're really looking at is Nate Danielson. He basically is your ham and egger, just a great player. He's got great hands. He supposedly is one of the best skaters in the draft. And he's got good size. He's 6'1". He's a center, so you're looking at him to play the third or fourth line center probably in a year or two. And he's got great size. The thing about him is last year he kind of fell off a little bit because he had such a rough start and he played for a team that wasn't very good. But he came on at the end and he ended up with like 1.5 points per game, which in the AHL isn't great.
Does a ham and egger prefer a ham and cheese sandwich or an egg salad sandwich?
I think he prefers a.
They would never eat an egg salad sandwich.
I think he prefers an egg. He prefers an egg McMuffin.
Yeah, egg McMuffins would be good for a ham and egger for breakfast.
Still waiting for McDonald's to call. Yep.
I could go for one of those right now.
I'm on a protein diet, man. I can't do that.
Well, you could take the buns off.
Yeah.
G says, do you think that Jari will stay or go?
I don't know. I got the sense that he was basically what he said with Jari and Dumoulin was that he was having conversations with them about what their expectations were for a contract. And then he was basically looking at the market to see if they thought they would get it elsewhere. I think if he thought that they would get it elsewhere, that he might sign them if he thought the price was right. But my guess is the price of the market is going to be higher than the Penguins want to pay for either of these guys, Dumo or Jari. And I think Jari will probably end up going, which is good and bad because now you got to replace him. The question is, do you replace him with somebody younger? Or do you go for like a Mike Quick and just say, hey, proven commodity, we need somebody good the next 2-3 years, and that's it? I think that's a bad idea. I'd rather them go after somebody younger, but this is the balance that Dubas has to play. No matter what moves he makes, he's got to go younger, or he's got, if he goes older, it's got to be a proven commodity. It's going to be better for them should they make the playoffs.
I've got a question for you. Dubas or Briere, who has the tougher job right now? Briere is the GM in Philly.
There's no doubt that Dubas has the hardest job.
Right.
The thing about Briere in Philly is he can just do scorched earth policy and just start from scratch.
Yeah.
And he can do,
which is what he's doing.
He can do a 2 or 3 year. He can do a 2 or 3 year plan. Dubas has got to win this year, and not only does he have to make the playoffs this year, he almost has to win a playoff series this year for him to be considered successful. And that's going to be really difficult with this team.
But given the fact that it is well accepted in not only in fan circles but in hockey circles that Hextall left a mess, okay, wouldn't it be acceptable for him to kind of burn it down a little bit now while he's still let me rephrase this. If the Flyers had Crosby and Malkin, okay, and they burned it down to bring up a lot of younger players, maybe I think both Crosby and Malkin have 2 or 3 good years left, maybe more. Wouldn't that potentially lead to quicker results than the same old? Now, I'm not grading Dubas at all, because he's brand new and he's a fresh eyes. And from what I understand about, hockey, he's going to be a better GM than Hextall. I mean, it's almost baked into the cake, but It's been left a mess. So why not burn it down and bring in some of these younger guys and let these superstars teach them, instead of, possibly putting Granlund back out there and possibly putting Jari back out there and possibly putting Dumoulin back out there. You're just putting the same team back out on the ice.
Well, and that's why I think he'll probably let Jari and Dumoulin go.
Okay.
I mean, the older guys, the chance for burning it down was 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And they would have had to do it piecemeal. They couldn't have done it like in one season.
Right.
Like they would have had to get rid of Malkin 1 year and then Letang last year. And that would mean that Sid would be the last man standing this year.
Gotcha.
Or for the past year.
Understood. Yeah.
And they just decided not to go in that direction. Instead, they're going for the nostalgia play. They're going for,
again,
look, these guys are going to be Hall of Famers. They're going to break records. Let's just enjoy it while they're doing it, even if we don't make the playoffs.
Why don't we enjoy it holding a cup up? I mean, come on. These guys are guys that win cups.
That's what they're trying to sell, right? Hey, these guys got one more last run in them. They're going to make it. They've proven they don't have it in them. And not these guys, but because where these guys are, you're not inserting young talent into those spots.
Right.
So you're never going to see a young a young talent come in Pittsburgh the next 3 years and play where Malkin and Sid play unless one of them gets seriously injured. And then you'll see it happen. But at that point, it's going to be plan B. It's not going to be plan A. It's not going to be somebody they pick to put in that position. It's just going to be somebody that has to try it.
Okay.
And that's going to fail.
So let's, because we want to get on to some things that we're watching here, but tell me what your gut really tells you about the next 2 to 3 seasons for the Penguins. No sugarcoating here, no fanboy stuff. What is your gut really telling you?
My gut's telling me that they're going to, and I don't know in what positions, and that's the frustrating part for me. There'll be some positions where they'll pick somebody who's old, and there'll be other positions where they pick somebody who's young, and they're going to try and bring them up as quickly as possible to play with the old guys. So my thought is they probably will go after an old goalie, right? Because they think that's a position that needs to be solidified for this year, in the next 2-3 years. And then I think they'll probably try and keep some of their, by getting the old goalie, they don't have to trade any of their picks to go get a young goalie.
Right.
So then they'll take their picks. From what I can tell from what Dubas is saying, sounds like he wants to draft some goalies. So I think they'll draft some young, fast skaters, and they'll also draft a young goalie. So for 3 years from now, when Sid's probably gone and Gino's probably gone and Tanger's probably gone, they're going to have a young, hot goalie come up and maybe help them limp along, the post-Sid Penguins.
So if I'm interpreting this, not good.
No, it's like if you look at
Rough.
the teams that are going to be in their division, they already have great young talent.
Right.
So they're going to have to try and find a way to play against them smartly. And Sullivan has already announced that he doesn't play smart. He plays fast, plays at the speed of the puck. They're going to struggle against these teams. And that could mean bad things for Sullivan, potentially. I can see in the next 2 or 3 years, Sullivan getting fired. And I can see a new coach coming in, bringing in new life, but not maybe get Malkin and Sid and Letang through to the second round, and almost get to the finals, and that'll be like it. That'll be it for the glory years. It'll be over.
I'm not liking this. I'd rather them go out with a cup. Of course, everybody would.
Well, I can tell you, it won't be as bad as the Pittsburgh Pirates because
thank you for stating the obvious.
Because they'll actually spend to the cap,
right?
And they'll always have a player in mind to go and get. Like, the reality is, let's say in a couple years, some of these young guys, I mean, who even knows? Edmonton might get frustrated with McDavid and Draisaitl, to be honest with you.
Right.
They might have $12 million contracts. And maybe that'll be around the time, Sid's getting out or Gino's retired. And they got the money to go get a young talent like that. I can see that happening.
Okay, so there's a possibility.
And that's past 3 years.
Right.
But there might be a young talent that somebody, just like Jack Eichel, right? Buffalo got frustrated with him and said, we're getting rid of him. He went to Vegas. We won a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that just like the Penguins did with Bluger.
No, the opposite. Reverse that.
I know.
Hey, one more shout out though to the Hershey Bears and the Calder Cup. Yes. They actually did come back to force a Game 7. They were down 3-2, and they won the last 2 games, and they won the last game in overtime to win it after being down 2-0 in the game. And you know how difficult it is. Like in the Stanley Cup Finals, you score the first goal, you're gonna win. You score the first 2 goals, you're almost guaranteed to win. Well, that didn't happen, and I get it. It's the Calder Cup. It's not a real cup. Sorry, CD. Yeah. But I mean, it's what Hershey gets. I mean, they get the Calder Cup. That's their Stanley Cup. I hope you get the chance to drink out of the cup at Trogs. Have one for me.
What's funny is when I was growing up in York in Central PA, that's the hockey that I watched was the Bears, and I used to go watch the Hershey Bears up in Hershey all the time. And there were many, I think they won a bunch of cups in the 80s, didn't they? I know they won at least one because I remember that year.
Well, that would make sense because they're Washington's farm team.
Right.
And Washington never won anything. So the fact that they won the Calder Cup was good enough for them.
Right. Okay. After every Pens game, Hockey Jesus preaches on the podcast. And we want to remind you to subscribe to the Sports Porch podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Please leave us a review. We would love that. And visit our website at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
theporcheslive.com.
Now, since it's the dead zone, we've got lots of time on our hands.
We sure do.
So
yeah, I do.
We are going to, you guys know I do, especially now that I'm sleeping in another room.
Well, at least you got a television.
Yeah, I do. And Apple TV Plus and all that other good stuff.
Good. Well, what are you watching?
So we're going to talk about what we're watching and what is that? What are we streaming? What are we enjoying right now? Our first, we're going to defer here.
Oh, by the way, Anze Kopitar just won the Lady Bing trophy.
Oh, nice.
What's the Lady Bing trophy?
It means you're polite to other players on the ice.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of penalties.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Normally,
they have a trophy for the nice guy.
Lady Bing.
Lady Bing.
They actually call it the Lady Bing.
It's a real thing. I'm not making this up.
It's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Slap me silly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, to be honest with me. Hey, you get the nice guy trophy. All right. Okay, so what are we watching? We're gonna go with Mark. Mark, you are currently watching
what?
When Heroes Fly.
I thought Superman already flew.
On
that was all right.
Netflix.
That guy looks angry.
He is. He's cool.
He's got a great haircut.
I've already watched it. It's just a 1 year, 10 episodes. It's great. You guys might, start, complaining.
Let me guess. There are drugs in it.
You are correct. It is.
And guns.
It is Israeli. There is a voiced over English virgin.
I think you meant to say version.
We've been doing this a long time today.
I am definitely watching.
Anything that has an English version in it, in it. I'm in.
Yes. When you voice over an English virgin, there's some serious shit going on.
We just went from like one eye to seven eyes.
I know.
With that comment.
Virgin. One eye to seven.
Seriously, it's got everything that I like. It's got
virgins.
It's got
guns.
It's got war. It's got terrorism.
Jews.
It's got drugs, and it's got Jewish people. My favorite.
Israelis.
There you go. Your
people.
You
No, it's a good story. It's basically a story about these guys who are in the army together in Israel. They fight in a war. They lose a close friend of theirs in the war, and kind of how they all cope with it. And then one of them goes down to Colombia to kind of get away from everything. And that person goes missing in Colombia. And it's really good. It's worth
you don't want to go missing in Colombia.
No.
It is, and you said it's one season. Was it like this past year, or is it a couple years old?
Within the last 2 years or 3 years, I'd say.
At the end of it, is it definitively over? It's like a limited series.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 10 episodes on Netflix.
That's a good one though. The 4 episode limited series, sometimes it's like not enough.
It's like,
I agree with you.
Like this is enough that and the bottom line,
Got to be 7.
Yeah.
It definitely goes like, you'll probably watch it in 2.5 weeks.
That means Chris will watch it in 2 weeks.
No,
1 week.
No.
I'll watch
2
it
days.
in a night.
In a night.
Give me a night. I'll be done with it. I'm going to be done with it tomorrow. just to mess with you guys.
To prove a point.
Yeah. I'm watching it right now and you don't even know. Okay. When Heroes Fly. I can't.
That sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Listen, I'm gonna. This is a spoiler alert, but I cannot wait until we have a radio station. We're gonna have so much fun. And that's just a tease,
Teasing.
part of the marketing plan. Steve is watching something that I've watched
This is something everybody should watch. I am not
Totally agree.
So it's Facing Nolan. It's a movie. Actually, his son made it.
Documentary movie
Movie on Nolan Ryan.
Right.
I'm not a huge baseball fan, but and I grew up with Nolan Ryan, right? I had no idea 3/4 of the thing in this movie. I think it was just so well done. Like I'd either forgotten or didn't remember that he played for the 1969 amazing Mets and won the World Series.
Yes.
He won the World Series as a rookie.
Yes.
And he pitched.
Well.
And controversial. He wasn't like supposed to pitch. They're like,
no.
Put him in the game 3.
Yes.
The manager put him in for game 3.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
and people are like, this guy's cashing it in. There's no way.
So-
Nolan Ryan had, because at that point he had no control. He absolutely had no control.
He was like Nuke Lelouch.
He was wild as can be.
Yep.
Hit players. Nobody wanted to go up there and face him. It was incredible. And the other statistic that I learned from this that also blew my mind, Nolan Ryan won 0 Cy Young Awards.
I know.
0.
Actually makes-
not a 1.
Makes perfect sense.
Here we come. There we
Makes
go.
perfect
There we
sense.
go. Yeah. Tell us
So-
why, Schwab.
so-
Yeah, because Steve
first-
Carlton was
so-
winning them all.
He was. But first of all,
Friggin'
so
Phillies fans.
you know who won?
Ridiculous.
You know who won a World Series game as a rookie for the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies? Bob Walk. Okay, Nolan Ryan. Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the thing.
I'm not letting this go.
He clearly hasn't seen the film.
Hey, well, in all honesty, when I think of Nolan Ryan, I honestly only think of one thing.
Go ahead. I know what
the
you're going to
fight.
say.
In the 1980 run to the World Series, the Philadelphia Phillies were down 5-2 in the 8th inning with Nolan Ryan on the mound, a seemingly impossible juggernaut to stop. And the Phillies came back and they beat Nolan Ryan. And from that moment forward, when the Phillies won the World Series and I was 10 years old, I was just like, we own Nolan Ryan. That's it. That's all I see. I see 7 no-hitters or 8 no-hitters or whatever it was. Great.
Most ever.
Great.
ever.
Yeah, great.
Great. He says great.
I see him punching the heck out of Robin Ventura.
Yeah, it happened.
But I see a blown World Series opportunity.
Well, that wasn't his only one. He also
And-
blew one with the Rangers later.
Yeah,
in
so
his
he
career, too.
he won 1 World Series when he couldn't pitch, and then when he could pitch, he blew 2. And he never
Well,
won
I
a
mean,
Cy
it's
Young.
never really just about the
Yeah.
pitching, but
No, but you get the idea.
Yeah. how many World Series did Randy Johnson win?
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a big
so-
part of it.
Okay. So let's just
Well,
talk.
so was Nolan Ryan.
Look.
And just look up his stats.
I'm looking at him right now.
They're
There
ridiculous.
is nobody.
There are probably 15 or 20. He has 51 Major League Baseball
records. Pitching records.
There are probably 20 that won't even come close to being touched.
Nope.
He pitched for 27 seasons.
Yep.
He had almost 6,000 strikeouts.
Did he pitch to 50?
No, he was in his. He was
45?
46.
And the reality is, the way he left the game was because on his last pitch, he literally tore a tendon in his arm.
Yeah.
He couldn't pitch, and he knew that was it. That was the end of his career.
Listen to these stats. In 1989, when he was 42, pitched for Texas. He was 16-10 with a 3.2 ERA, 32 starts, 239 innings pitched, 301 strikeouts. And the next year at 43, 232 strikeouts, 3.44 ERA. At 44 years old, 291 ERA, 173 innings pitched, 203 strikeouts. But wait, that's not all.
Sounds like a couple good Doug Drabeck years.
Well, let's add in like 10 more good Doug Drabeck years. 72.
10, yeah.
These are just strikeouts. 72, 329, 73, 383, 74, 367, 76, 327, 77, 341, 78, 260. 79, 223.
What's 1980?
1980, 200 strikeouts. He was an 11-10 with a 3.35 ERA. That's called no run support. Okay.
That's called 5-2 lead in the 8th to go to the World Series.
Right.
I'm not good enough.
No. Oh my God. Look, this guy is the greatest pitcher other than Cy Young that set foot on the mound. Do you disagree now?
No.
After watching that?
I agree. I mean, you just watch it. The other thing, David, they didn't talk about what you said with the beating of the first two batters as a high school senior, but what they did say was, everybody said that, he got such a strong arm because, he used to deliver papers and used to throw it off of his bicycle, when he delivered 300 papers every morning. He said that actually was a lie. He drove and he always threw with his left hand because when you're driving, you have to throw with your left hand. So that wasn't the reason he did it. The reason he did it was his dad was so crazy. He would wake him up in the middle of the night to throw ball with him, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and just throw as hard as he could. Yep. And he just got that muscle memory at a young age.
He was absolutely incredible.
And plus he was he was a really big guy too. So
he was tall. But
actually he credits I forget the Houston pitching coach who taught him to how to control the ball, because it was the way he was landing when he was throwing it that made
he was
the
leaning
difference.
One way versus the other,
and he said once he figured that out, he was like he could throw it anywhere, and that's why he would throw at guys, because he knew where to throw it where he wouldn't hit them, but just to scare him enough off of the plate.
Yep.
And then the next time just come in on the outside of the plate, and players were just terrified.
The guy was pitching over 200 innings into his 40s. I mean, and doing it
and
well.
Supposedly threw the fastest fastball. They said it was clocked at like 101 or something like that. And
but
then
the gun was slow.
The gun was the first time they actually created a gun. Then they calibrated it, and he said it was like 108.7 or something like that. He was throwing the ball.
Yeah,
which is just incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, if you've ever been, I mean, I've never been behind something that was like 80 miles per hour. I can't even imagine what 108 looks like.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, I have no idea.
It's a blur. Yeah, it's a blur. And in Mark's defense, before I watched it, I was kind of where Mark was as far as Nolan Ryan, like
a choker.
But
he did choke a couple times.
But a great pitcher, like one of the greats.
Of course he's one of the greats.
Listen, you got two guys here. We both watched it, changed our minds. Just watch it. Promise me, please.
I'll watch that along with the Cy Young and the Sandy Koufax.
Pretty pleased with never mind. Okay, Chris is watching a sci-fi thriller.
I thought about this one, and then
Silo.
I thought, sci-fi.
I like sci-fi.
No,
I do like
really
I like sci-fi too, but
Silo.
It's really good. Tim Robbins is in it, and he's really good. Common is in it, and he's really good. Yeah.
Are there trolls?
No.
Are there ghouls?
No.
Are there dragons?
No.
Vampires?
No.
Are there? So there's none of those things.
No.
I might be interested.
No. It's so.
Is it alternate dimension movie?
No. No.
Those are big.
No. I'll give you the straight. Okay. It takes place somewhere in the distant future on Earth. And what has happened is, you don't really know what's happened. There is about 10,000 people living in this silo that was built directly down into the ground. Think nuclear missile silo, but it was built for human beings to exist in, and it goes down like hundreds of levels.
Gotcha.
And
a reverse size skyscraper,
right into the ground, and they can't figure out that at some point in their history
how to get back out.
No, they know how to get out. At some point in their history, a rebellion happened, and all of the history prior to that rebellion was erased from all the computers. So they don't really know exactly how they came to be there. But what they do know is one of the highest penalties for crime is they send you out to clean they have a camera outside this silo pointed to the earth, and the earth looks like it was just destroyed by a nuclear war. Right. So one of the death penalty is you got
to go clean the camera.
You have to go clean the camera, and or if you say, like there's a lot of curiosity and they know that. So some people are like, well,
Modern day Fukushima.
I want to go outside. Some people actually have said, I want to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
If you say that, that's a crime. That's a capital crime.
They're
and
like,
you go outside.
Here's a tissue. Make sure you wipe that thing on your way out.
Yeah. So there's a mystery. There's a mystery surrounding what actually happens.
Okay.
And it's
I'm in on this. I
it's
like it.
9 episodes in the first season, and I just finished it in a matter of 48 hours. And for real.
Mm.
And it's done very well. The acting is really good. Silo on Apple TV Plus. If you're into that, definitely watch it. And that's about it. You guys got anything else you want to add in that's of any sort of value at all?
Well, did Steve have what we're watching?
Yeah, Facing Nolan.
Remember?
We just went over how Nolan Ryan is the greatest
You just
pitcher
bashed Nolan Ryan, the greatest pitcher of all
Been a
time.
long time.
Cue the music.
All right, there you
Old
go.
age.
All right, listen, guys, I want to thank you for watching us on social media.
Okay.
I want to turn Mark down. I want to thank you for watching us on social media, watching the Sports Porch podcast, and also catching the Sports Porch podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And always at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com.
And we will catch you next week, you sons of bitches.
Later.
Thanks, DG. This is just too much fun.